Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're just letting everybody up. Little mic check. Can anybody hear me?
Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, Brad. I see Justin here as well. Louis coming up. Bianca's connecting. We'll just give it a minute for everybody to trickle in. How's everybody's afternoon going? Who is drinking coffee at the moment? I have an iced coffee in my hand.
Got my latte here.
Nice.
I already had two and I was starting to get a little shaky, so I've switched to water temporarily.
Yeah, I'm that way after like the third cup of coffee. Invite a couple other people up. Make sure to request if you're one of our speakers, make sure to hit request and we'll let you up. Hey Bianca, are you up here? I know you were having some connection issues.
Yeah, I'm up. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah, you sound good. Welcome everybody. We got a couple more people coming up. Full panel. Excited to be here. How about you, Bianca?
I'm excited to be here. We're gonna have this panel is awesome. It's funny because as I was basically putting together the run of show for this space, on there, it's like for everybody that doesn't know what a run of show is, it's basically like a sheet that has all the speakers' name, their title, their handles, and like mine's like Bianca Michelle, community manager front, and all of the other speakers are like VP of product, director of sales, CEO, head of product, and all of these fancy titles. And I can't help but laugh because yes, they're all such smart individuals with these prestigious titles, but I actually know a lot of these individuals personally, and they're so humble and so smart, and I'm so excited to introduce them as they start to roll in. I think we have everybody. Um, Let me make sure we have everybody. I'm gonna mute
Yeah,
myself real quick.
go ahead and give it a check. And yeah, and I agree. And again, this says welcome everybody. I see Chris here. Again, this is episode one of our 4 week series sponsored by Front Finance. We're excited to have you guys here, learn more about what you guys are doing, and also talk about onboarding the next billion users, which I think is an important question. We always talk about mass adoption. And in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion. I believe there's going to be different paths to mass adoption, and having a diverse panel to kind of hear those different perspectives, I think it's very important. So I'll throw it over first to the Front Finance team. Bianca, do you want to kick it off with the introductions?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm excited to introduce the guests that we have here. These folk have collectively onboarded millions of users into the Web3 universe. They've pioneered blockbuster NFT projects to trailblazing crypto initiatives and leading exchanges. And seriously, a lot of these individuals are true visionaries in the industry and with their respective titles as well. A lot, Dorian I've worked with personally as well as Jordan, and he truly is, one of the top product visionaries in the space, in my opinion. And as I've settled into my new position with Front, same thing with Jason and Chris, who we have up here today. Really, I've already learned so much from them, and we have so many individuals here in the space. Brett, who's really lovely to speak with as well, has very similar background to some of these individuals as well, with working with large IPs. And I can honestly say that we've all probably ran into some of the same frustrations, as well as being able to collectively work together to kind of problem solve as to what is needed in the Web3 space to onboard the next billion users and to create mass adoption. So I'm really excited to hear from them. They're all true rock stars. And whether you're a seasoned pro or a newbie in the Web3 world, the topic of onboarding is something everybody should be paying attention to. And there's no better way to learn than to listen to today's discussion and the things that are happening right now.
Thanks, Bianca. Great intro. Yeah, let's go ahead and kick it off. Maybe I'll just go down my list and maybe introduce yourself. What project are you working for? Or what company are you working for? And tell us a little bit about it. So I'll kick it off with Chris. Welcome, Chris. Nice chatting with you again.
Yeah, great chatting with you again as well. So my name is Chris Pereira, Director of Sales Engineering at Front Finance. Prior to being at Front Finance, I was actually at Coinbase with some actually other people on the call here. And I was helping with the staking and infrastructure side of the house. So it was formerly Bison Trails, acquired and rebranded to Coinbase Cloud. So bringing on the next billion users has always been a very top of mind mantra, especially at Coinbase. But part of the reason why I joined Front is because I saw the potential in what we're building here to really help fulfill that like mantra that I had heard so much at Coinbase. So very interested to hear from the rest of the panel what the thoughts are on how do you onboard the next 100 billion users or next billion users, be 100 billion too.
I'm happy to have you here. And then let's kick it over to Jason. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, how's it going? Hopefully you can hear me. Okay, go awesome.
Hi, you
Okay,
sound
great.
good.
I was having some AirPod trouble. I am Jason Zhang. I'm a VP of Product at Front, working with Chris, and I'm coming from previously working at places like Upwork and StubHub, and also previously a founder. So I've been thinking about, a lot about the problem, how to be able to onboard like the next billion users, how to be able to take crypto into a world where it's commonly understood and accepted by people like my grandparents, like my parents, and like those are the type of problems I think are really interesting that people on this panel are trying to solve, and we're definitely very conscious and very trying to be able to think through the ways to be able to do that up front too. So I'm excited to be on here.
Nice. Welcome, Jason. And it's a pleasure to meet you. And next up, we got Brad. What's up, Brad?
Hey, GM gang. Good to see everybody here. Some familiar faces. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Brad, and I am the director of blockchain for NFT Now, helping kind of just develop and strategize around the tokenized media concept using blockchain and social curation to authenticate media, which I feel like is going to be super important going into election year. But prior to that, I spent just shy of a year as the lead Web3 developer and strategist for PepsiCo, and really trying to work with a major brand like that and all of the brands that are housed underneath that to easily onboard people or get them actively participating in this Web3 culture. And like Bianca mentioned, there was definitely some hurdles there, and education really kind of starts at the top, and before you could really even address the consumers and customers, you would have to first educate, all of the people making the decisions for those companies. And so excited to explore this topic of education. I feel like it's so important in this space, and I can't wait to see what some of the other panelists have to say.
Thanks, Brad. Always appreciate your inputs. And next down, no particular order, just looking down my phone, then we have Jordan. Welcome, Jordan.
Hey Jess, thanks so much. Hey Bianca, hey everybody. I'm Jordan Lyle, CEO and founder of VenturePunk. VenturePunk's a Web3 studio, and we've been around a year or so, and we've launched several NFT projects and communities and initiatives. We recently launched Prohibition.art, which is an open, on-chain generative art NFT platform. It's on Arbitrum. Put it on layer 2 to make it more accessible to many more people. So we're really excited, now with our focus of bringing generative art NFTs and the uniqueness there, bringing that to more and more people. This is a topic that's really important to me. Dorian works with me, and we've worked together for a long time. I'll let him give his intro, but we're really working and thinking about how does generative art NFTs specifically help us kind of bridge more users into Web3. And it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. I've been building in the Ethereum ecosystem since 2017, worked at like an early DEX startup, and the goal was to bring decentralized exchanges to more and more users. I spent a couple years at Consensus. We were trying to bring DeFi to more and more users. So I've literally spent, 5-6 years thinking about how to bring on, mass adoption. And we're not there yet. We keep getting little sparks of hope But so I'm really excited to chat about that and put our brains together. So yeah, thanks again for having me.
Nice meeting you, Jordan. And yeah, and you said Dorian. Welcome, Dorian. I'll kick it off to you next.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. I'm excited to be here. Yeah. So onboarding the next billion users. Yeah, my work life absolutely revolves around onboarding, uh, and then keeping them, right? So like Jordan said, we worked together for a long time, close to 20 years now, off and on. And Jordan said most of it, but just to fill in a few of the blanks here. So in Web 2, prior to making the jump to Web 3, we worked at a company called JibJab, which acquired a company we started, and there we were directly responsible for onboarding tens of millions of users. So going into Web 3, there are some challenges there, and obviously we'll get into that. But we've directly contributed to onboarding nearly about, I think, close to 500,000 users into NFT programs, all based around community. So all based around community and fandom to some extent. And we're continuing that with Prohibition.art. So thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Dorian. Almost done. We got two more speakers. Justin, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Cheers. Thanks for having me. I'm the CEO of Telos Foundation. We sort of oversee the marketing and product that is the Telos network, which is layer 1/layer 0 network. This is like a particularly important topic for us. We've been working since 2018. Back in December, we launched our network. And the difficulty of onboarding millions of users, billions of users, is just incredible. The user experience is still to this day kind of terrible. Explaining things to users about crypto, it's a totally different paradigm. So this has like been an exciting challenge over the last 5 years, and we've learned a lot of lessons. And happy to be here to talk about it.
Thanks. We're happy to have you. And last but not least, Louis.
Hi, everyone. I am Louis, CEO of DeFi Current, formerly at Microsoft Stanford. Like I said, DeFi Current, we're trying to bridge the gap between DeFi utility and what we like to call DeFi usability. We think allowing people to get access to the utility that is offered through blockchain-based financial services is really important, and is potentially the way to get people onto Web3 financial rails, whether they know it or not. So we're building the one-stop shop for everyone to serve all of their financial needs, based on blockchain technology. And happy to be here.
Awesome. And we are not done just yet. Sorry, Raj. I don't know. Twitter Spaces does a glitch where the speakers move around sometime. So I was going down the list and you were moving around. So Raj, welcome. Did not miss you there.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me. I'm Raj Parekh, CEO at Portal. Prior to Portal, was leading crypto products at Visa, was responsible for bringing Visa on chain effectively. Prior to that, my background's in the intersection of security and payments. Naturally fell down the crypto rabbit hole, being in the intersection of those two industries. And today, building out a company called Portal, very much an infrastructure company, helping companies and enterprises and developers build blockchain-enabled products with simple UX, high security, and great developer experiences also. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you here. And again, sorry about that. We are happy that you are here. So I'm going to kick it over to Bianca. Let's get to it. A lot of great minds. I want to hear from them. Go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited to kind of kick it off and start asking questions. And I'm going to try something different that we don't normally do. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to pick somebody randomly. And if you want to add to it, raise your hand or just feel it usually I go down the line, but I think because we have so many speakers with great minds, that if you have something to share already, just raise your hand and we'll go ahead and call on you, just so that nobody's left out or that I'm picking on you. Oop, did you guys hear me?
Yes.
That was weird. Did you guys hear that noise? That was something
Yeah,
Lou
I
was
think
just.
somebody hit the soundboard. It's fine. Lou,
Yeah, I don't know who did it, but it was pretty
That
cool.
was awesome. It caught me off guard. But anyway, um, I guess I'll start off with Chris, since he mentioned his experience with Coinbase as and I want to know, like, during your time there and even now with Front, what are some of the key challenges you face when kind of onboarding users or really kind of problem solving into how you guys were anticipating on doing so, since you guys really were kind of some of the pioneers in the space, especially when it comes to like the US.
Yeah, so it's funny if you go to like the different forums of like what are the best exchanges to use. Some of them actually rate it based off of like beginner experience, moderate, and like expertise. Like if you're an algo trader or something like that. And Coinbase always got the rep of being the beginner platform. Go there, sign up for account, connect bank account, and then you've got your fiat on ramp. Then you can just hit buy sell. And Brian Armstrong was very clear about that when he was building the Coinbase platform. That basically a user came to him and was just like, "I want to buy Bitcoin," so he put a buy button there and made it super simple. So ease of use has always been a key factor in onboarding. The problem is not necessarily getting somebody to sign up for a Coinbase account and to get them registered, because it's really no different than getting an E-Trade account or a TD Ameritrade account. You've got to fill out some information, verify who you are and whatnot. The problem actually comes when you are operating in the Web3 space. And what I mean by that is, yes, I can connect my bank account on Coinbase or Binance or any of the other exchanges out there. And I have, a simple fiat on-ramp experience through a centralized exchange. But it's when you start going to do anything else in the Web3 space, whether you're interacting with DEXs, you're trying to hold assets in cold storage, you're trying to use adapt, do yield farming. How do I stake? How do I know what I can stake versus what I can't stake? Is Polygon, can I transfer my Ethereum over the Polygon network, or can I transfer my Matic over the ETH network? Like things like that are the hurdles that every day the users face. And I'm even talking like crypto forward individuals too face the exact same problem, that they understand, but they don't have, and this is a really terrible way to put it, they don't have a stupid proof way to interact in a world that they've been conditioned on traditional finance, and change that mindset to understand how it works in crypto or in DeFi, because it's all built on such a technical platform that we haven't gotten to the abstraction level of ease of use to make it so my parents can go and buy crypto and pay in USDC without thinking twice and using a wallet or anything along those lines. So I think really that's the biggest hurdle. And I think that's a problem that Coinbase is trying to solve, and every other centralized exchange is trying to solve. And it's one that I saw very predominantly at Coinbase, that like we could get the institutional users, we could get the advanced crypto users, but like when you were trying to actually get the everyday person to use it, it was very difficult to do. And I think that's partially what really drew me to Front, because we're trying to abstract that away. We're trying to take the 20, 30 clicks to transfer an asset and make it super simple. Just like if you were to go into your bank account and just say, I want to transfer between my checking and savings account, it's effectively what we're doing for transferring from centralized exchange to a self-custodial wallet, or vice versa. And that's the level I think we need to get to in all aspects and all forms of Web3, to interact with dApps, to pay at a POS, or to transfer funds to a friend because you want a Venmo-like experience, but you've got $100 in USDC that you want to send them, not 100 USD, and you don't want to use Venmo because for some reason, it's not the ideal solution. You have USDC, especially in like an emerging economy where USDC or stablecoin is more likely to be used over the local currency. I'll pause there for anybody else.
Yeah, does anybody kind of want to chime in and maybe you guys experience some of the same friction or frustration, or we can just go ahead and move on and apply that same question to your product. So I don't see any hands up, so I'm going to call on Lewis. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I really like the mention of kind of abstraction here. I want to bring in an analogy of the ship of Theseus. It's, you know, a bit of a stretch, but bear with me here, where the idea is if you replace each part of a ship, is it the same ship? And the ship in this context is financial services. Currently, we have a bunch of financial services that are offered by TradFi Rails. And I think the goal of all of us here is to one by one replace each part of the ship until everything is backed by decentralized finance and all of the great companies that we're building. And part of it is, I think there's like a network effect where if there's not enough utility amongst all the parts of the ship, that creates friction. Like, why do I care about a wallet? Why do I care about USDC? I have dollars. I have, you know, my bank account. Why do I need any of these things? And again, I think abstraction does help with that. But I think the goal that we should all be working towards is providing enough utility that actually satisfies the needs of these customers so that they don't notice that they're actually on a different ship that is powered by Web3. And I think a lot of the stuff that we're doing here in terms of making centralized exchanges more accessible, making the user experience better, are all parts that kind of need to come together before, you know, mass adoption occurs.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. I think like one of the things that you said that really resonated with me is like being able to allow people to use the Web3 technology, but not necessarily know that they're even using it, right? Like they get all the benefits of what they get from the Web3 technology, but they don't have to go through that process where they're having to create seed phrases, they're having to like set up all of these things. They haven't even answer like all of these like complicated questions to be able to like do it. And I think like one really relevant example that I think people should be fairly familiar with because it's like very recent is essentially what happened with like OpenAI. OpenAI like has GPT-3 has been this platform has been running around for the last 2 years. They've been improving it. They've been really like doing a lot of things with it. And it was kind of cool, but it didn't really start going crazy and taking super adoption until they actually created basically Instruct GPT and then layered those two things together to make Chat GPT. So you could just ask it a random question like any human being could, and it would pop out something that was incredible, right? It was all the stuff like already worked underneath. It just had to stitch it together so you could actually literally put it in front of anybody, have them ask it anything, and it would just kind of amaze them. They didn't have to know what was going on underneath. They didn't have to know that like it was like breaking down your question into a bunch of instructions that was then feeding into like a model. Like that wasn't their goal. It was to be able to get it into the hands of people in a way that allowed them to be able to like see the technology and see like the value of it. And then now you see tons and tons of companies expanding on that and being able to like really like grow into that world because they saw the value and being able to simplify it for like an everyday user.
I think I saw
I
Justin's.
just incurred
Sorry.
a massive like hands up.
Yeah, because that was a great point about ChatGPT. I completely agree.
Yeah, I think I saw Justin, then Raj, and then Dorian.
Yeah, I think Jason actually started touching on the point I'm going to make, but I think, yeah, one of the biggest problems is that, you know, in order to use crypto, in order to form a habit of actually wanting to use crypto, you have to go through the KYC process to get tokens. And you know, like if any of the biggest products in the world had to go through that arduous process, they would never have taken off. Think about things like Uber and Lyft and Airbnb, you know, maybe there was a light KYC, basically just your credit card, but they gave referral schemes, you know, earn $25, earn $50 if you, you know, engage with this product or refer a friend. And so the biggest problem in crypto in terms of onboarding at the moment is that you have to go to a Coinbase, you have to go to a Binance before you even get a first product experience. And then to form a habit of using products multiple times, you never even get to that stage because of that. So yeah, one of the biggest inhibitors to onboarding is how do we get like enough tokens to people so then they can start interacting without them going through an arduous process. And so we need like some sort of unique identity solution, which we haven't really solved for yet. And then once you get to that stage, then you can onboard as many people as you want. They can start interacting. They can start referring people. You know that they're referring real people, not fake people. And then you can incentivize like major network effects. So I think like the whole nature of crypto needing to actually get tokens is maybe the biggest inhibitor to massive network effects.
Go ahead, Raj, and then follow with Dorian.
Yeah, no, I think a couple things. One, and I think touching back on a few things that Justin and Jason called out. I think all of us here are very much technologists. We know the inner workings of blockchains and the different tokens and protocols that are out there today. But one of the key things that I've stumbled upon, just like talking to a number of users, is that the technology is certainly interesting, but it's not necessarily something that they're curious about also. And you kind of make a ton of parallels today where my dad uses ChatGPT every single day, but he has no idea how it actually works. All he knows is that he's getting insane amount of value from it by asking it questions. And you can argue the same thing applies for making an everyday payment at your local coffee shop. You could take your card out, swipe it, that transaction's completed. You don't really need to know how that transaction actually happened, but you do know behind the scenes that there was a debit from your bank account and now it went over to the merchant after. And so I think one of the things that we think about a lot at Portal is like, how do we make crypto so simple and easy where the user doesn't have to think about the underlying technology and how it works. They're just able to get insane amount of value from it almost immediately. And then from there, enjoy the experiences that come with it after. So that's what I'm really excited about. And so I'm glad, Jason and Justin, you kind of mentioned some of those points as well.
Awesome points, Raj. Go ahead, Dorian.
Yeah, I have to say I'm deeply enjoying this conversation, and we need to have more conversations around this. This is fantastic. I agree with all of the points. I just wanted to kind of take a step back because when we talk about onboarding, at least in my mind, there's two major parts to it. One is, how much do I want the thing? So like Raj said, like providing that insane value. And then the second part is how hard is it to get, right? Like how hard is it for me to access that value? What's the friction? And when we look at those 2 points, like the first one, how much do I want the thing? Like there are folks out there that like, you tell them, hey, you have an opportunity to meet Beyonce, right? It doesn't matter like how, like, there's no mountain high enough, no valley low enough. Like they'll do whatever they have to do. KYC is not a thing. They'll refinance their house to make that happen, right? So I think in this world, first we have to provide something of value. So exactly what Raj was saying and others have said, like we have to provide something of extreme value and of insane value. And then the second part is, how do we make it easier for them to access that value, right? So like with Coinbase, it made it very easy like, a lot of folks here are doing these things to reduce the friction, to avoid the KYC, all of that. But I want to make sure that we keep kind of the mind on we have to provide something of value, and that thing of value doesn't necessarily need to be inherently Web3, right? Web3 can open up a lot of things. It can add value to things, but there's tons of stuff that exists in the world that can provide extreme value that Web3 can do a little bit better. We just have to figure out how to show folks that value, how to show them that it's better, and then again reduce the friction in that onboarding process, right?
That was awesome points, and I agree with you, Dorian. This is an incredible space with incredible minds. We do need to talk about this more, and I want to thank you because you actually set it up perfect for my next question, which is once we've, let's say, created value, what specific strategies or initiatives did each of you employ to attract and educate millions of users to Web3? And it's basically potentials, whether it be the technology that you're using, or maybe it's some sort of IP, or maybe it is some sort of activation in real life activation that's triggered by this NFT. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. And I wanted to kick it off to Brett because he hasn't actually spoken. And on the NFT Now side, you are directly involved in media, so I would love to hear your points.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I think it's important to kind of really identify, how people learn. It's kind of like know your audience, because some people are gonna, myself, I'm a turn all the knobs and hit all the buttons kind of learner. It's just like, give me the thing, let me break it. We'll learn along the way. And other people really want to understand it and have every tiny aspect of it broken down, before they even dip their toes in the water. And so one of the things that I ended up doing was created like a really basic kind of like yes no flow chart to see like, to just mass everybody that was trying to learn, on the corporate level, and kind of walk them through. It was like, do you know what, blockchain is first? It's like great, either, if they did, you know, what, do you understand what cryptocurrencies are? Do you understand what wallets are? And kind of walk them through until we hit a point where all of a sudden, their eyes glaze over. And it's at that point, it's like, cool, all right, let's rewind here for a second and break down some of these topics. And I think it's really important to kind of really, nobody wants to be the only person in the room that raises their hand and says, like, I don't understand that, And so once you get to the point where you can tell a majority of people are lost, go back several steps, because you lost people several steps ago, and nobody really wanted to admit that, and so I think that it's really important to um, I mean, there's so many resources out there available as far as educational material, Web3 glossaries and indexes, terms, things like that. And it's really important to make sure that everyone has access to them, because if they don't, it's impossible to know what you don't know. And so just give anybody you're learning as much information as possible, and they'll find kind of the parts that resonate most with them.
Dorian, I kind of want to ask you this question, and Jordan too, because I've actually had the pleasure of working and learning from you when it comes to um, initiatives and strategic initiatives as it pertains to marketing. And I would love to hear your guys' take on this.
Specifically on the strategies that we use to onboard, right?
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, Bianca. So I've been lucky enough to have an opportunity to work with you in the past at Nifty's, and the the fundamental basis for how we were able to onboard nearly, I think it's like 400,000 folks to NFTs at Nifty's, was through fandom and community, right? So kind of tying into existing communities. So there we did the Matrix avatars, which was a project that had 100,000 unique avatars, and the idea was, we would offer these NFTs to the community and allow them a bunch of things that they could do around this IP. Within Discord, they created their own games, they created all this other stuff. And, again, kind of going back to like that kind of the duality, you can't break apart in this when it comes to onboarding. How much do I want it? And then how hard is it to get? There was already a large fan base there, right? And while they may not have wanted to jump through a ton of hoops, they were fans of the property. They were excited about NFTs. They were excited about this new technology. And then what we did was, we provided them an easy way to get in. So custodial wallets, something similar to what Coinbase offers, just kind of more on the NFT side. Um, uh, Minimal KYC, easing payments by allowing folks to transact with credit cards, so transacting in the way that they're familiar with, right? Kind of reducing those barriers to entry. So again, just offering something that people are interested in and genuinely want, adding some utility to that, and then kind of lowering the difficulty in getting across from Web 2 to Web 3. It's kind of like a Web 2.5 thing. And like others have said on this call, putting it in a way that's already familiar to where you don't have to learn, a ton of stuff about Web 3 before you're in there. One of the things that we constantly think about is like, is there a way to get users into Web3 without them even necessarily knowing they're in Web3, right? They kind of like wake up one day and they're like, oh, wow, you have a Web3 wallet and I own some NFTs and I have this and I have that. And I know about these things, but they didn't have to truly sit down and study or go through this long drawn out process to really get into it. So that's kind of the general approach that we've taken in the past.
If I might add, a dope community manager during the time that helped there. I'm just kidding. But I also wanted to open up that conversation or that question rather to someone else, perhaps Jason. I know that you've had a wide range of experience now with Web3 and also with Web2. And I wanted to kind of get your points on that and takes on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys are. Dorian's he's hitting it on the head. Like the less that people know what they're using underneath, the more likely they're going to be able to go through that process to be able to get that end value thing, right? That could be the Matrix NFT. That could be something for a Manchester United fan. I can't believe I just said Manchester United because I'm a Man City fan. But those type of things are really the things that at the end that they want to be able to get that value. The simpler it is for them, the less hurdles and less barriers that are in the way. The more likely they're going to be able to complete it, right? And so I think using some of my previous experiences, having worked at large marketplaces, the e-commerce companies, you're constantly trying to optimize checkout flows. You're constantly trying to optimize flows to be able to get people from a page where they're looking at a list of tickets to actually buying a single seat. The more of those things that they can be able to, the more technology you can use to be able to make it extremely simple for them to be able to find what they're looking for and to be able to get the value that they want, the more likely they're going to be able to complete that. And I think as the Web3 community starts stitching that together, starts really trying to identify with the people that aren't just the crypto forwards and the crypto natives, and really starting to think about how your parents are going to actually be able to get adopted into this. The more very interesting ways people are going to be able to figure out how to stitch that technology without having people necessarily know that's what's underneath it.
I think Jason, if I can chime in really quick, and I think Jason makes some great points. And even as a crypto native user, yes, we have some applications that are easy to use, but then again, I have 20 different crypto applications in my wallet, and it's hard to manage all of these. So maybe to kick it off to the next question, how important is the UX for the user experience, and maybe some of the things that you guys are working on to improve that experience. Because as a somebody who's in crypto every day, I still find it challenging to keep up with all these different applications, even if they're seamless to use. Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, so I think that is one of the huge barriers to entry that everyone has been referencing, is the entire process of onboarding and then actually getting the utility out of it. Yes, you kind of take away the impact of that if, the reward at the end or the utility that you provide is just so overwhelmingly useful or positive that it doesn't matter if they have to, climb Mount Everest in order to use your product, they're going to get value out of it, right? But unfortunately, we're not quite there yet in terms of providing life-changing value to every single person. But the way to reduce that barrier to entry is, like you kind of alluded to, making the entire experience better. Like you said, with the wallet apps, you have 20 different things. You have to go to a different place if you want to stake, if you want to provide liquidity, if you want to compound your staking rewards, if you want to swap. There are different websites, different applications, dApps for all of those things. And there's not really a centralized kind of supermarket where you can kind of browse all of the products and actually interact with them. And I think that's one of the things that we're doing at DeFi Current, that we're trying to reduce that friction barrier of entry, where you can onboard, offboard, you can swap, you can look up prices, you can browse NFT collections, all from one place. So you don't need to remember, do I need to go to the Uniswap front end, or now do I need to go to Curve, Convex, etc.? We just want to eliminate that kind of decision making kind of let everyone do everything they need to do in crypto in one place.
Love that. Go ahead, Bianca. I think
I
then
think,
Raj and then Brett.
yeah, Raj and then bread. That's what I was gonna say. So,
Yeah, this is 100% a question that I think about a lot, and I almost attribute it to the shopping cart problem that we've seen historically across e-commerce and the internet. One of the main pain points that a lot of merchants had is shopping cart abandonment. People, they go on, they buy something, and they forget about it after, and then ultimately falls down, and never that purchase never takes place. And then you have folks like Amazon that came around and said, "Hey, you just have a one-click buy button." And from there, it was no surprise that Amazon was able to get a number of sales, and obviously become the big juggernaut that it is today. And I think today we don't really have that one-click button in crypto. It's to I think what Louis mentioned, to what a lot of folks mentioned. It's not at the user's fingertips. It takes a number of steps to onboard. And so for us at Portal, like part of the infrastructure that we've built today is the user experience when you're onboarding is just a couple steps. It's not writing down your seed phrases. It's not doing the things that we've historically have done in crypto. And we think that one click button is I think what we need to aspire to, where it starts to then make it super simple for them, for every user, but also with high security. But at the same time, to what Louis mentioned, all the applications and different experiences should be at their fingertips also, kind of similar to how we have an app store today on our iPhones or Android devices too. And so I think that's what, we have a lot of work to do. And I think, but that's like a noble aspiration for where Web3 and crypto can ultimately go to as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up with the clicks. I mean, it's something that there was a study done, I think a couple of years ago, about users and how many clicks of a button a user is willing to go through. And it was, essentially 100% of users will hit a button once. Between 1 and 2, you get about a 30% drop, and then between 1 and 3, you have an 85% drop in user participation between one click and having to click something 3 times. And I think that that's one of the biggest issues here that we have with wallets currently, and with just how the ecosystem works. And it's, oh, you want to just go buy an NFT. It's like, all right, well, click this button to log in with your MetaMask, click this button to connect it to OpenSea, click this button to sign, and allowing you to interact with the contract, and click this button to transact, and it's just too much. There are a lot of different teams and companies out there that have built, easy payments, like Crossmints, MoonPays, Fireblocks. There's a few different teams out there building essentially more simplified solutions. But I still feel like, we're at a point where we either need to decide whether we're hiding the wires, or whether we're going to actually teach people about these clicks and what each click actually does to maybe gain some participation. Other than that, I mean, I really think the solution is 2 clicks max. You should be able to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve with 2 clicks.
go ahead, Jordan.
I really like the 2 clicks max approach. One thing that I think a lot about is, like, users right now, they can press a button and they have a car ready to pick them up in just a few minutes, right? Like with Uber, one tap and I can move across the city pretty easily. So they have this level of expectation. At the same time, we need to be careful, and without over optimizing or over designing. And sometimes, we have experience doing that. I think we did that sometimes at Nifty's, and I'm guilty of it as well. But we tried to obfuscate too much, where we almost remove the blockchain magic altogether, and you lose that value. That word that keeps popping up in some of these responses is value. And there's a reason we're doing this on a blockchain and not a centralized database, right? So if we centralize everything and we obfuscate some of the weighting and some of the magic, then it just becomes a normal Web 2 experience, and then we may as well just be hosting it on MySQL. So it's a delicate balance, and I've said that because it's something I'm struggling with and currently working on at Prohibition. Is how do we onboard people, but show them and educate them and on-ramp them into why this is amazing, and why on-chain generative art, in my case specifically, is amazing. And we started out with Bitcoin and remittances and being able to pay people so easily virtually, and then it was DeFi, and we had this opportunity to kind of rethink banking infrastructure on the blockchain, and then it was NFTs and art and culture and identity. There's going to be something else that I think comes next. I think generative. So it's really like the thing, the steak really is, and not the sizzle. If you get my drift, that's going to onboard these people. For me as like a product builder, I want to solve some of my pain points as a user deep into this space, and then some of the others in my community, and then just like provide this amazing experience or product or value that you can't get anywhere else, right? And then that, like, this curiosity and uh, this product value is what's gonna bring people in. So yeah, just caution, like putting too much on it. I think it's just that balance of usability and education.
Great points, Jordan. Great points. I think Jason and then Justin.
No, yeah, thank you. So definitely, I think to Raj's point, I think a goal to be able to reduce friction is great. I think the goal to get to absolutely no friction, like the one click, to like Jordan's point, it is something that people have to think a little bit about. So like I'll give you like my experience when I was running product at like StubHub. Like the general theme of almost everything in e-commerce is like just remove clicks, and like you increase increase conversion rate, and you A/B test that. The only place that wasn't true was in checkout. The only place that like actually creating some level of friction so people could review, make sure they're paying what they were paying, make sure they knew what they were doing, it actually improved conversion rate was when they were actually like shifting funds over, when they were actually spending a committed like button, right? Everything else when they're like navigating, cool, like completely 100% contended. But like once there was like a financial transaction or something that they were spending, it actually helped to like let them further review it. Now, that doesn't mean that like you're putting in like multiple different checks and steps to like enter your entire address and every single thing associated to your credit card, right? But like you wanted to at least make people feel like somewhat comfortable with what they were trying to do. And when we did our research on like the reason why it worked for one click for Amazon, it wasn't because it was the one click, it's because it was Amazon and their return policies were amazing. So people had no commitment against that. They were like, oh, cool, I'm just going to like buy it because if I don't like it, I'm just going to return it and Amazon takes everything, right? So like there's all these like different components that like really like allow them to make that super simple and make that like an extremely simple UX. And I think in Web3, there's going to be that balance point, right? Like you want them to like know that what they're getting, you want them to know the value that they're getting, but you also want them to feel comfortable with it, what they're doing. Without having to have them go through every single hoop that people do today, because those are the things I think people have to really prioritize and identify of like what hoops you want to be able to get rid of.
Finding that balance, completely agree. Justin, go ahead, and then Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it really goes to the last few points, especially Jordan's point on like killing the magic of Web3. I just really wanted to dial into that because I thought it was just such an amazing point. I mean, one of the things, and this might have been what Jordan was referring to, one of the things that I've noticed in terms of killing the magic is say having a login for a site like a Web 2.0 login or Magic Link. It allows you to log into that site really easily. It allows you to sign up really easily. But where it kills the magic is that that login does not work on a different Web3 website. And I think that is a huge part of the magic of Web3 is that you have this bank account essentially that you can take with you anywhere and you can plug it in to any site. But as soon as you like make it too much like Web 2.0, where every site is explicitly separate from one another, then you have like a separate bank account over here on Nifty. You have a separate bank account over here on OpenSea. You got a separate bank account on some other DeFi site. And then you have to like send tokens, from each website to the other because like the magic link is only in an enclosed application space, and it just totally ruins the benefit of Web3, which is like you have this bank account that goes everywhere with you and you can plug it in anywhere. So yeah, I just thought that was such an amazing point, and there's such good examples of where we take things way too far, make them too much like Web 2.0, and really kill some of those network effects, I think.
Great take, Justin. Go ahead, Chris, and then Brad.
Yeah, so I actually, from what Jason was saying, I actually want to pose a question back to Jason and see just if I could challenge it a little bit. And Jason, in your experience from what you noticed at StubHub and how Web3 is somewhat different from Web2, and I'm sure this might be something you've thought about too, because I know of all the product development and whatnot up front that we're doing. Where do you see that divide of when it's okay to challenge users? Because from what I've seen, that whole test trade aspect of, or test transfer aspect of like, I don't want to commit to moving my funds until I've like tested with a little small amount. It's like, that's something we streamline. So where do you think in the Web3 world, actually having more clicks is beneficial than less clicks?
Um, I mean, I think like we're call out the example that like you're kind of alluding to a lot, right? Like when you're transferring assets, right? When you're actually transferring assets out of, call it like a centralized exchange, like a Coinbase, right? Uh, to be able to do that and not necessarily have that like secondary validation where you need to be able to enter the SMS code that they just texted you or open up your Google app, like that actually is one of the points that I think will help people have more confidence that one, they're actually the one doing the transaction, and two, someone else can't just do it for them on their behalf, right? Like you have a lot of these situations. I think Web3 really helps that Web2 is just struggling with right now, right? Credit card numbers are constantly stolen. Like there's entire tons of fraud because those things have absolutely no control around them. Like you get someone's credit card number, you know those details, it's gone. Like someone's going to keep reusing it, and your only ramification is to cancel your credit card. Web3 has the capability to be able to create enough protection layers around that without making it hugely burdensome for you to be able to like do that. That I think it creates a ton of value. It's just you have to stitch those pieces together, and I think like that's where people like in this community will want to be able to press on a lot is like where do we want to keep the friction, where do you want to remove the friction, where does it make sense to be able to do that in order to not just like increase like the onboard rate but also to increase like the ability for people to see the value, to people even start at the front to be able to start seeing the value, right? It's like make it adoptable, make it acceptable.
Cool. I like that. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Brad, what's up? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on things like ENS and CCIP, which is cross-chain kind of communication. There's things that, the tech is now evolving far enough along to where you can have, a signing wallet that stays and is attached to your primary wallet that can go across any chain, that can kind of interact with any sort of Web3, front end. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see as that evolves exactly who will be kind of like if there will be one sort of main wallet provider that is essentially, or maybe two. You'll have like the MasterCard and the Visa, and you'll have like the Coinbase and the MetaMask, like, but ultimately it will boil down to, well, of course you either use one or the other because you can use them anywhere across any chain at any time. I think that's one of the huge problems with, like, I think at this point we can all agree that like the POAP protocol, is kind of like trash at this point, right? Yes, it's cool, it's easy, anybody can sign up with an email, get an NFT, but now it's like in order to have that in any other wallet, now you have to go through transferring and you have to go through these extra steps that, even Web3 native people don't really care enough about to move all of the POAPs they've collected into their primary wallet and pay the gas fees associated with doing that. It's like I got this POAP because it was free and I was there and I attended the event and, whatever. why would I then spend more money than maybe I spent to go to the event just to move it over to this other wallet? And then you have other ones like, yeah, I think someone mentioned Flow or Vivi, it's kind of like they're cool in their own aspect, but until you can seamlessly have those assets across any network, any chain at any time, do I think we're really going to start seeing more adoption in the space. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, so I actually want to like piggyback on that and maybe pose this question to Roz. This is making me ask more questions and actually like contribute content. Sorry about that. So I think that having multiple wallets is an issue that everybody faces. We've got Phantom Wallet, MetaMask, Trust Wallet, Rainbow, Clover. I mean, you go down the list and name them. And I wonder if there is a way, especially for any of the wallet experts on the panel, is there a way to have multiple wallets, but then basically have a view with the unique transaction hash or the unique hash of what's contained in that wallet so you can see it across multiple wallets? So I don't have to pay gas fees in order to transfer everything to my Coinbase wallet, my MetaMask wallet. So I can still have it all pseudo centralized without actually having it to be in that location so I can still see everything in one place. Does that, one, even seem possible? And two, would that also aid in the ease of bringing on the next billion users?
Yeah, so
I think Chris, go ahead.
yeah, I have a perfect response to this. So there are a lot of portfolio trackers that exist right now, and is actually pretty relevant to the partnership that DeFi Current just did with Front, where now, with DeFi Current and a variety of other portfolio trackers, you can input all of the different wallets that you're using and see the combined or aggregate value of all of the wallets in one view or one place. And I guess now, pushing Front a little bit, we've integrated with them, which allows you to see your centralized exchange portfolio value alongside the various self-custody wallets that you have. So if that is something that you're interested in, again, I can push my own product and say you can check it out at DeFi Current, but there are a lot of other portfolio trackers that at least let you do the self-custody version. From what we're aware, seeing your side-by-side or aggregate portfolio view alongside your centralized exchange accounts is something that we're one of the first ones to do.
Love that. Thanks for sharing that with us, and looking forward to seeing more about that. But Brett, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to make sure that there's like some clarity here that there's a difference between having a wallet and then having accounts inside of a wallet. And your accounts are, it's that thing, the long hexadecimal, ends, and you're always checking the last 5 digits, check the first 4 5 digits. That's your account that essentially makes transactions, participates on networks, and kind of acts as that communication or that storage. Within a wallet, you can have multiple accounts, right? Your wallet is the thing that's protected by that seed phrase. If somebody gains access to your wallet, they have access to all of the accounts that are within your wallet. But if you just get one account compromised, they can't necessarily hit every single separate account that's within your wallet without deriving your seed phrase. And so there are ways to essentially import multiple accounts into various wallets. And I think that that's kind of where we'll end up getting to with wallet providers. It'll just be, maybe you take custody of your own wallet, but you have non-custodial accounts. It's something along that, some sort of blending or merging between the two.
Great points. Raj, did you want to chime in? I saw your hand up earlier before Luke.
No, I think he answered the question. I'm good.
All right. I know we're almost at the top of the hour. Do want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I know we have, Bianca, did you have another question for the panel before we start wrapping it up?
Yeah, we got a few questions. I was reading the comment section of this, and I kind of want to wrap it up with a few things and then answer maybe that question, or maybe combine the both, I guess. I think I'll just leave this open-ended as well, so anybody can answer or raise your hand, and we'll just call on whoever. But I would like to know, what are some opportunities or industries that you see could really embrace blockchain? And on that as well, I wanted to ask this question, who is from Smoke and Joe, and that's what is the angle to onboard the devs instead of the users? And I know this one in particular is probably going to be good for Brett or Jordan because I mean that's something that they're constantly facing is onboarding the next wave of developers. So I'll leave that and I'll go to Brett since he was the first.
Yeah, sure. I'll absolutely address both those. I mean, the onboarding devs is so much, everyone talks about these Web3 communities, but realistically, I've learned so much from just being in chats and in different groups and conversations with other devs that are learning. I mean, this space is growing so fast. I started writing Solidity back in 2017, 2018, and some of these old concepts are now starting to come back, and there's some devs that are absolutely brilliant developers out here in the industry, and because they only entered it a couple of years ago, it's kind of like they've never heard of some of these old concepts that have existed for so long. And and it works both ways, where it's like, well, what do you mean, how are you optimizing this now? I didn't even know that was a new thing. And so having conversations with other people in the industry and other developers, I really think is kind of the key to bringing new developers in. Something that a lot of big companies are trying to do is just, say like, hey, this developer's been with the company for 15 years. Let's put him in charge of Web3, and it's like it very much doesn't work like that. And to answer the second question there, as far as industries, I mean, every industry. I truly think that every industry has at least some sort of hiccup that they're experiencing, whether it's supply chain management, whether it's payroll and HR, insurance. I mean, DMV is an obvious one, right? I mean, even you can track things back to car manufacturers stamping a transaction Genesis block, on, the engine block of the vehicle. Replace VIN numbers with, essentially Genesis block IDs. And now goodbye Carfax, everything that happens to that car ends up being put on chain. Every accident, every sale, every maintenance, everything. I mean, there's healthcare. I mean, literally, there's so many industries out there that could seriously benefit from it as soon as we get education to the people that are making the decisions, and not necessarily always the end user, but the people that are deciding what the end user sees. And that's kind of where the challenge is getting these higher up people, C-suite executives and things like that, to really understand and see the value prop in utilizing blockchain technology.
All great points. Does anybody want to add to that as we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll give a real world experience. I was working last year actually with one of the big credit bureaus. I won't disclose which one. Granted, there's only three. But basically, they were trying to make a push into blockchain technology because effectively they saw the entire blockchain being able to put them out of business. Because the minute that somebody's credit is on chain and can be pulled directly from anybody looking to finance anything for you, basically puts them out of business. So they were trying to figure out how exactly they could get involved in blockchain and create some type of a niche for themselves so that if something did head that way for credit scores on chain, then they wouldn't be left basically wondering what are they going to do as a business model anymore. So I know that's another big global use for it.
All interesting takes. I think that's it. And we're at the top of the hour. We went over a little, hopefully not too much for some of you busy individuals. And I kind of wanted just to remind everybody here that a lot of the individuals we're truly trying to scale the industry and provide more value. One of the ways that we're doing so is by joining together here and continue to have conversations like this. So we're going to have another conversation very similarly, same time, same place, next Thursday. And if you're a company who wants to join in on these conversations, feel free to DM me or Jess, and we'd be happy to include you. And I think that's it on my end, Jess. Is there anything you want to close out with?
No, I wanted to say thank you to all the speakers. Yeah, great listening to all of you and great meeting some of you for the first time. So I hope everybody on the panel connects, and happy to connect with everybody here. Yeah, make sure to follow Front Finance. Excited for next week's episode as well. And yeah, any last words from any of our speakers? Let's go around really quick. Any last words for you guys? Anything coming up? Anything you want to leave us with?
Check out prohibition.art, on-chain generative art, and we try to make it easy and accessible. It's an open platform. We have a great time in the community kind of helping people create generative art. Prohibition.art. Thanks.
Thanks, Jordan. Justin, what about you? You're next to my screen.
Yeah, just a quick plug. Yeah, come check us out. We're awesome layer one. Our website's telos.net. Join our Telegram, follow our Twitter. You know, we're a really great bunch of a really great community. We have grants, fuel incentives if you're a DeFi application. Really great place to build and a really great place to learn in Web3. So yeah, and thanks for having me.
Looking for, and also we're going to have you on Crypto and Coffee later on in the month. So looking forward to that as well. Thanks for coming. Raj, what about you?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. But yeah, you can come check us out at portalhq.io if you're a developer that wants to get their hands dirty and build fantastic, Web3 crypto experiences. You come check us out. Thanks again for having us.
Thanks for coming by. Brad.
Yeah, thanks. This has been awesome. Always happy to help, educate anybody and everybody. I guess closing words is just ask questions. Anybody listening to this, like if there's something you don't know, just ask everybody until you ultimately find somebody knowledgeable enough to answer you. There isn't a single person in Web3 that absolutely knows everything about every aspect of it. So never shy away or be afraid to ask questions.
Thanks, Brad. What about you, Louis? Nice penguin, by the way. Nice penguin.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, just shout out, check us out at deficurrent.com. Like we mentioned, we have that side-by-side portfolio viewer if you want to track multiple wallets alongside your centralized exchange accounts as well. And I guess we're right now the one-stop shop for everything you need across DeFi and token information. We're integrating NFT collections soon, and I guess on the roadmap for later in this year is actually being able to interact with a variety of apps from one spot with any wallet you choose or any combination of wallets you choose. So check us out, and thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming by, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having myself, Chris, and everybody from GetFront. Check us out at getfront.com. You'll be able to help connect a lot of the CeFi and DeFi world together, and then be able to facilitate a lot of the actions I think that people really have been discussing today. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. And last but not least, Chris.
Yeah, so just resonating what Jason said, thanks for having both of us on. Jason already gave the company info out, but this was a really cool conversation. It's always really interesting to hear different perspectives from different people in different sections of the Web3 world. I would even say this should be like every couple months, just have a generic, how do you onboard the next billion users conversation, and just leave it as an open forum conversation, because it's really interesting to hear everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll change in a couple of months. Maybe there's new ideas or new suggestions, since the space is evolves so fast. But yeah, that's a great point. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming. And also we'll be back tomorrow for Crypto and Coffee, and we're actually going to have the front team on. So we'll actually learn a lot more about what they're building. So again, our regular show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Any last words, Bianca, before we wrap it up?
No, thanks for being such an awesome host.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming and for being great speakers. And thank you to all the listeners. And we'll be back next week, next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Have a great day.